England except us. But, you know, if they have a super strain of COVID, we don't want them flying in here. I mean, I'm not anti-English, but come on. The new COVID strain in England. Okay, let's get to Joe Biden. So he said it's not going to be easy for him. So we all know the system, political system, and that includes the corrupt media, is protecting Joe Biden, and that will continue. So as I said, he's going to be the greatest president since Thomas Jefferson, Teddy Roosevelt. He may fall a little short of Abe Lincoln, but he's going to be the greatest guy. And anything goes wrong, it can be Trump's fault. All right? Now, he's got a problem with his son, because his son is being investigated by the Justice Department, took $15 million. Did he pay tax on it? I don't know. If he didn't, he'll be in trouble. So he got all this money because his father was vice president at the time. And there's no doubt about that. No doubt about it. All right, Hunter Biden got more than $10 million because his father was vice president. Period. Okay. So Joe and Jill Biden go on the Colbert program, which is just rank propaganda. It's not a humor program. It's not an interview program. It's just left-wing propaganda. That's all it is. That's all Colbert has always been. Roll tape.
I know you want to be as bipartisan and reach across the aisle, but as much as you don't want it to happen, you know that the people who want to make hay in Washington are going to try to use your adult son as a cudgel against you. How do you feel about that, and what do you have to say to those people?
Well, look, we have great confidence in our son. I am not concerned about any accusations that made against him. It's used to get to me. I think it's kind of foul play, but look, it is what it is.
It is what it is? Number one, please never say that. It is what it is. We don't know what it is. We don't know what Hunter Biden did with all the money. We don't know who got the money. We don't know anything. Because the media won't investigate. The Justice Department says it's investigating. Does anybody have any confidence in that? Hello, anybody? It is what it is. What it is a mess. And if by some miracle, and this isn't hard, Hunter Biden's tax returns don't show $10 million, Hunter Biden's going to jail. And if his father got any of that money, well, I'm not even going to speculate. Is what it is. So Mr. Biden is defending his son. Now, I put myself in that shoes. If my son did this, would I be defending him? Probably. Probably. He's your blood. Here's Biden.
My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China?
Did Hunter Biden commit a crime? Have you spoken to your son, Mr. President-elect?
My son.
So what about the Americans who really today only want me to ask you about Hunter Biden's laptop? How are you going to get them to see that you are fighting for them?
By the way, there's nothing to any of that. Nothing to any of that. It's all a smear. Every major outfit, every serious investigator has pointed out that this is a smear.
That's not true. It's not even close to being true. All right, there are serious people in the Justice Department looking at this and trying to find out where all that money went. Okay, so the press should be trying to find out independently of the Justice Department where all that money went. The press is not. Roll tape.
Can I say something? You know, this is 60 Minutes, and we can't put on things we can't verify.
You won't put it on because it's bad for Biden.
We can't put on things we can't verify.
Leslie, they spied on my campaign.
Well, we can't verify
It's been totally verified.
No.
Coming up here, how Fox News is like Game of Thrones, how Fox is like Breaking Bad. We're going to show you how this new anti-Biden narrative from the Murdoch media machine was manufactured.
The Wall Street Journal is reporting the president mulling over appointing a special counsel to investigate the election and Hunter Biden. None of this is going to stop, Peter. So how on earth does the president-elect keep his head down and focus on the Bible he's going to place his hand on and the oath to follow and the job to follow after January 20?
Oh, that's right. None of this is going to stop. Why are we looking at millions of dollars in unexplained money from foreign countries to the son of a vice president? Wow, why are we doing that? And all this, that, blah, blah, blah. So the establishment in Washington, of which Mr. Williams is a part, even though he lives in New York, they're going to protect Joe Biden down the line. So the only entity that could expose this is the Justice Department under Attorney General Barr. Well, today, Mr. Barr said he's not going to appoint a special counsel to look at Hunter Biden. Rolling.
I think to the extent that there's an investigation, I think that it's being handled responsibly and professionally currently within the department, and to this point I have not seen a reason to appoint a special counsel, and I have no plan to do so before I leave.
All right, so what does that mean? I think to the extent that there is an investigation. What does that mean? Is there an investigation or not? Do you care about it or not, Mr. Barr? Now, I understand not appointing a special counsel if you got your guys and gals all over it. I understand that. You don't want to undercut them. And then there's election fraud. He's not going to appoint a counsel to investigate election fraud either. Here's what he says, quote, "I'm sure there was fraud." This is the Attorney General saying to the American people, I'm sure there was fraud. But I was commenting to the extent, another extent, to which we had looked at suggestions or allegation of systemic or brace fraud that could affect the outcome of the election. And I stand by the statement that there wasn't. All right, but you haven't completed, Mr. Barr, with all due respect. And he leaves on Thursday. You haven't completed the investigation. You haven't done forensics on the voting machines in question. You haven't done analytics on the mail-in voting. So how do you know? See, this is what I mean. We are living in a corrupt country. The country is corrupt. And that's because we have a corrupt media that looks the other way unless you're a Republican or you're conservative. Now, when you have no watchdog, no one looking, you're going to commit crimes. That's what's happening in Chicago and in New York. These are violent crimes because there's nobody to stop you. Defund the police. Now here, and I really hate to say this, I think William Barr cares more about being accepted by the establishment in Washington going forward than he does getting to the bottom of this stuff. That's what I think. I could be wrong. I pray I'm wrong. All right, 2020 was the worst year since 1929. Let me refresh your memory. My parents lived it, so I lived it through them. So 1929, October 29th, Black Tuesday, stock market crashed, all right? Because people were buying stocks by borrowing money they couldn't pay back when the stocks went down. Everybody panicked. The banks tried to get their money back. The loans, the people couldn't pay the loans. Bang. Everything crashes worldwide, but started in New York. Okay? That lasted until World War II. That lasted till 1941. That depression, the Great Depression. 1929 was when it all started. My parents, profoundly affected by it, particularly my father, okay? And stayed with him their whole life. And it was passed down to me. In ways like be frugal, and you got to eat all your food, and a lot of people don't have food. You know the drill. If you're a baby boomer, you know it. Now, this year was horrible. It was terrible. I can't even remember anything that was good about it. All right, so COVID comes in late January. Again, I'll remind you, I'm the first national reporter to warn about it on January 23rd. Okay, so COVID sweeps in. Then we have George Floyd. And then we have riots and more than 2,000 police officers killed, hurt, all right? And hundreds of people killed. Social justice, defund the police, looting, burning, you name it. And then we go into the election and half the country thinks it was a fraud. What kind of year is this? And the Jets only have won one game. I mean, come on. How bad is this? Let's bring in Adam Carola, who is my counterpart on the West Coast. I say that because Carola is an independent thinker. He's trapped in LA. It's like Escape from Los Angeles. He can't get out. Do you see it as the worst year since 1929 or even worse than 29?
Well, let me cheer you up with your Jets. Your Jets at 0-13 just beat my playoff-bound Rams yesterday. So, yeah, it's bad. It's very bad.
So you wrote a book trying to help everybody, I know, because you're a holistic guy, called I'm Your Emotional Support Animal, Navigating Our All Woke No Joke. But you want to provide solace for the American people, Carola. I know you do. Behind those glasses, that's what's motivating you. What do you say to people who are like on the cliff?
Well, some should jump, but to those who don't feel like jumping, I mean, everyone who's mean to me on Twitter should definitely jump if they're on the edge of that cliff. We're turning the corner. It couldn't be worse than this. We're going into 2021. Biden will be the president, so, you know, the news outlets and the legacy news outlets will kind of take their foot off the accelerator of all of the, you know, racism and social injustice and, suppression and all their kind of buzzwords that agitate everyone and anger everyone. Will have Biden in there, so they'll focus on, you know, Trump's golf game.
All right, so you see a lessening in political hatred. What about COVID? Do you think the vaccine's going to mitigate it? You taking the vaccine?
I have not taken the vaccine. I will take the vaccine. The part that scares me about the vaccine is, especially living out here in Los Angeles, they keep moving the goalposts back. So first there is, you know, we're going to lock down for 2 weeks, and then we're going to lock down for 9 months, and then we'll lock down until we get a vaccination, and then even if we get a vaccination, we still have to wear masks and social distance and don't leave your house and don't travel, which I would argue, why bother getting a vaccination if you can't leave your damn house and you can't travel? And so they keep going with the narrative, no matter what piece of evidence or news comes out, such as schools. I got a couple of 14-year-old twins. They've been rotting at home for 9 months. They should be in school. No evidence suggests they shouldn't be in school. But for some reason, they're still at home because even though it's safe to go back to school and even though children are our future, somehow the teachers and their unions have decided they like getting paid to stay home better than getting up and getting dressed and showing up somewhere. And if things couldn't get worse in California, I just heard today that they moved the Rose Bowl to Texas. So the Rose Bowl game, the biggest game in college football, the granddaddy of them all, the game that's 100 years old, will now be going to Texas Stadium.
Well, you know, California is an extreme situation. Here in New York, my kids are going to school in person. I'm not in the city. I'm like 12 miles outside of the city limits, so I have a much easier life. But when you look at the COVID, the whole thing psychologically, do we recover from this in 2021, or are people still crazed about COVID?
I think the ramifications, the longer lasting ramifications and the scary part of COVID is this. About a week ago, we had a health official from Los Angeles explain that even though there was no danger and there was no evidence that outdoor dining presented any danger in the spread of COVID, we're going to get rid of it anyway because we want everyone to stay home. And to me, that's a very slippery slope. So there's two factors. There's the fear of the populace, and that'll wane. But there's a scarier part, which is the government gathering power. And then what shall they say next? What shall be their next fiat? What shall be their next decree? I mean, according to their logic, they could say there's a lot of drunk driving accidents on New Year's Eve, so let's make an 8 p.m. curfew for New Year's Eve because we don't want people to die on the road.
All right, the government power, and I'm not a conspiracy kind of guy, as you know. It's on display in Michigan with Whitmer, in New York with Cuomo, in California with Newsom. You can see it. Absolutely, these people are just thrilled that they are the dictators. Final question, you get up to San Francisco a lot? You get up there?
I used to get up there quite a bit, not so much anymore because I now wear expensive shoes and I don't want to step in human fecal matter and soil them. So I stay out here in LA.
Okay.
Yes.
So you might know this, but last week the Board of Education voted 10-1 to change Abraham Lincoln High School. I don't know what the new name is going to be. I hear it might be Shecky Green High. Remember Shecky? Love Shecky.
Oh, yes.
Anyway, Abraham Lincoln's gone. The woke's got him in San Francisco. So how extreme is it going to get in California? I mean, how crazy is it going to get out there?
Well, I tell people all the time, it's called the progressive movement. It has the word progress and movement right in the title. Is there anything to suggest it'll ever stop? There is no finish line, as we've proven time and time again. The stuff, think about the stuff that they're vying for in 2020, 2021. Think about if you had heard these stories 4 years ago, how insane they would have sounded. You would have been completely, and you don't have to go back 50 years or 25 years. You can go back 4 years and have someone explain to you that this group wanted to get rid of the name Abraham Lincoln from a school. You would have thought, that's insane. This is some kind of farce. This is a joke. So there is no end because they don't have an end game. Their end game is change and move forward and get rid of everything that's old. Anything that existed in America. Christmas, holidays, yes, get rid of it all.
Model from Mao Zedong's Cultural Revolution. That's exactly where it came from. So poor Abe. But I'm not going to San Francisco, Carola, and I'm discouraging you from going to the city by the bay. I want you to have a Merry Christmas. I know you're an unbeliever, but it's federal holiday, Carola. You don't have to work.
No.
You know, and it's thanks to Jesus, man. It is thanks to him. You know that.
I will heap praise on the Almighty on Thanksgiving.
All right.
Oh, wait, on Christmas. Thanks, Bill.
All right, Adam. Good to see you. Bob Iger, you know him? I put his picture up there. So he's the head of Disney. And he's stepping down, but he's still in charge or whatever. So there's an anonymous source, Wall Street Journal, Hollywood Reporter, quoting, say, Iger wants to be the ambassador to China. It's anonymous, so I'm not putting any credence. But gives me an excuse to tell you about Robert Iger and tie it into Disney madness. Okay, so Iger donated $500,000 to the Biden Victory Fund. Now you can do that because it doesn't go to Biden himself, it goes to a PAC, Political Action Committee. All right, he gave $256,000 to other Democrat groups this year. And he gave $370,000 to Barack Obama's operation. So that's why Disney, which is ABC News, The View, that's why they're the way they are. Jimmy Kimmel, it's Iger. And now he wants to be rewarded. All right, we're just talking about San Francisco, just some stats here. About 100,000 households have left since March. bailed out of San Francisco. I expect to be 200,000 or 300,000 by early next year. The population there is 880,000. So you lose 200,000, you're losing 25% of your population. People are leaving. City owes $2 billion, can't pay it. What else you need to know?